Hello and welcome to the Art Readathon for September, framed in September. I think you're in for a fun time. It's a brand new readathon and it's going to be something, I think it's going to be quite easy because we're all surrounded by art. Behind me I've got some favourite ceramics. You've possibly got textiles in your room around you. Maybe you collect quilts or you do needlepoint. And we all probably have films we watch that are based on books. And thinking about how the story is told in a different way when there's pictures is thinking about art. So we do that all the time, don't we? We kind of complain that their favourite books have become something completely different when the story is being told in a visual medium. But there's also illustrations in books. We've grown up as children with stories that had illustrations in books, and for example even Alice in Wonderland that adults would still read and enjoy had a variety of illustrators over the years with different editions. And if you like comic books, oh my goodness, this is going to be the month for you in September, because they are of course all about telling stories with pictures and words together. And please make a video about how you see the storytelling happening on the page. It will be fabulous for the rest of us. And one of the things that I've got as an example is a book which became a film pretty much straight from one to the other. Scott Pilgrim versus the World. And if you happen to hit upon a day that is rather cold, or for some reason you don't want to go out in September, then this book is quite good, and the pictures are actually transferred almost directly to the framing of the film, which is definitely one to watch. Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Just so much fun. So comic books are also part of art. Also design, if you think about the furniture you're sitting on, the rooms you're in, the colours of the walls. There's stories about all of those and who made them, who designed them, who says they should be put together in different ways. And if you're an outdoor person, maybe you love planting gardens, and that has always been seen as an important art. In fact, and I think it was the 1700s, it was taken to be like a political statement the way you laid out your garden, believe it or not. And a poet here in Scotland made his garden as a series of poems and expressions of how he felt about life. Ian Hamilton Finlay, so that's something, if you love gardening, you might enjoy having a look at. So it's not too difficult to do, and it's called framed. Why? Because there's so many different kinds of art that use the word frame or framed. So we frame pictures, we frame photographs, in printing there's actually a part of the process, the traditional process that was a frame. Architecture, houses are built around a frame. Our bodies have a frame, so we can think about maybe fashion, and we can think about dance as art as well. And stop motion animation, you have got the type of moving body, the armature, which is underneath the apparently moving figure. And we use a frame in embroidery and tapestry. That's just some. Also, books can have a framing device that's like a story within a story, or a play within a play, like in Hamlet. So you can tie that into your Shakespeare. Another thing you could do if you're doing Shake-Tember is you could read the Shakespeare play Romeo and Juliet alongside watching the film, which is the one starring DiCaprio, and it's telling the story in a different way, and fabulous fun. So what are we asking of you in Framed in September? Well, there's two prompts. One is to read a book which has got art in it somewhere, whether it's fiction or non-fiction, and the second one is to go to an art event, maybe visit a gallery, go to a live performance. Maybe if there isn't an event near you, you could always watch something on video, or a live broadcast, or a live opening book launch from a bookshop. So and there's another bonus one which I'll tell you about at the very end. But I want to tell you about our co-hosts, because this is going to inspire you with confidence right away. We've got Elisabeth at Bouquets and Books, and this was her idea. She started it up. She's got so much experience in doing readathons, so she's got the energy. She's making it happen. We've got Greg from Another Bibliophile Reads, and he's co-hosted so many events. He's had so many interviews, and he's made over 700 videos for BookTube. I mean, 700. Where does he get the time to even eat? So all that experience is going to be here for you. And we've also got Hannah at Hannah's Books, who has been firmly on my subscriptions list for years. And if she talks about a book, it's worth hearing about, and it's worth hearing what she says. One of the few reasons why we are not sitting having real conversations face to face is there's a small matter of a little puddle between the two of us called the Atlantic Ocean. Otherwise she would be just delightful to sit down, have a coffee or wine and calzones, who knows, and just chat about things. So we're so fortunate to have her as part of this. And another one of the most pleasant people in BookTube is also involved, and that is Lindy at Lindy's Magpie Reads. And unlike almost every other booktuber, she actually goes outside into the greenery and sits in her garden and tells us informally about books. And it's fascinating doing that. And it's a joy to watch her videos. Totally recommend them. So relaxing, and you can sit and pretend that the garden's yours. And you don't have to do any reading. So she's involved as well. So this is all going to be good. And I was just so pleased to be asked to take part, because I'm really the silver unicorn of BookTube. I mean, I read the books that other people don't normally, and usually that's art. So I'm very invested in you feeling this is something you can do, because occasionally I come across people who have little panic attacks and say things like, oh, I can't do art, I could never do art at school, and I'm no Picasso, and I know nothing about art. So I've got a few little comments and encouragements if you're having that little reaction. First of all, I know nothing about art, people will say, and actually I bet it crosses over with what you're reading already, and I can see lots of possible books that you can read that would fit the challenge for this September. So for example, if you like reading fiction, you could read Donna Tartt's The Goldfinch. If you love reading crime, there have been so many thefts and fakes and forgeries uncovered over the years, and that would fit even doubly tick for Framed in September. And fictional crime often revolves around a stolen art piece. You could read The Maltese Falcon, A Diamond as Big as the Ritz, Agatha Christie's The Mystery of the Blue Train. If you like reading spy novels already, then of course you can read Ian Fleming's Diamonds Are Forever. If you like architecture, or normally only read science fiction, or you're interested in astronomy, what about a book on Chesley Bonstell, the guy who did architectural drawings for buildings, plus also did some science fiction ideas of what things could look like in the future, and kind of predicted space as it was, space travel and rockets and different things. Or you could look at the winners of the Chesley Awards that are named after him. Maybe you could read a book on Afrofuturism if that's your interest, and that's ticking those boxes for science fiction and thinking to the future. If you love psychology books, you have so many books you can read on what is art doing with our brain and how many different ways can we approach art. I have a lovely book that I just adore, which is about looking at art slowly, and that's a whole, almost like a spiritual practice as well, it can be. So lots of things there. If you like photography, you can have a look at a book which could be, for example, photographs by Ansel Adams. There's not maybe too many words to read, and you can enjoy the pictures. So you see, it's really quite a light ask. And if you enjoy history, well, history has always been a way of telling stories through art, and probably done by the actual winners in history, so to speak. But you can also be thinking about, what is it saying? What about artist propaganda? Who collects art? How has art become available to people over the years in national galleries and museums? I mean, that was an idea somebody had to think of and execute. And me thinking about art is key to understanding cultures and histories and power struggles and events and daily lives from the past. And sometimes those survive where words don't. You can have a piece of painted pottery or a wall mural and it has survived, whereas tablets and papyrus have gone over the years. So you might also like to think about art as communication, art as a way to debate and talk about national social changes. You might enjoy looking at, for example, the Sistine Chapel. Michelangelo and the Pope's Ceiling is a book I read, and it's insightful as to what was going on with religious and political struggles at the time. And as well, it lets you see and think about exactly what is on that huge ceiling, all the different stories within the story. So that could be fun for you. And maybe your objections to say, I grew up not knowing anything about art. Well, I understand that because I was the same. I grew up in a family that didn't value or seek out art. And what was a breakthrough for me was one single artist, and I think that is so helpful for anyone. A friend at school mentioned about Charles Rennie Mackintosh, the architect, and I said, who? What? And she said, oh, you must know. And I didn't, but I went, found out, and became interested. And then from there, I got to know another artist that interested me, and another, and another, and another. And it just, that was the way in finding one person that you're interested in. And a really simple way to do that is just to go to a library, find a big book on various pictures of art through the years, and just flick through until you find one that you like. And then find out a little bit about that artist. And after you've done that, you'll probably find out about their friends and or the art movement that they were in, or the time period they were in. It just grows and it builds together. So it's a bit like doing the jigsaw in a way. You find your corner piece and start from there, and it will come together. And the third thing people will say is a problem. They'll say, I'm not Picasso. I'm no Picasso. And a teacher at school told me, in fact, I was rubbish at art. Okay. And most of us have been there. And I think that the answer is none of us really are like Picasso because we didn't have his opportunities. His father was an art tutor, so he had it in his genes to begin with. He was taught by his father, and they lived in the capital city in Spain, so he got to see all that art. And then he purposely went to France, to Paris, which was a bit of a good place to go to for the art world, considering it was the absolute centre of the art world. So he did an awful lot of work in between as well, and there's more to it than that, but most of us didn't have those 4 or 5 advantages to begin with, so there's no comparison. Just don't get into that. But if you like reading biographies, I will say that the artists seem to have had a way of living their life in a questioning way, asking questions of society around them and challenging it. And their lives don't tend to be too dull. So speaking of which, the light is coming and going at the moment. Sorry about that. There must be a cloud going around somewhere. But if you like reading biographies, I think you're in for a treat as well. So finally, the bonus prompt. The bonus prompt is to tell us about a piece of art which means a lot to you personally, or to make some art yourself. But that's a complete bonus. So this month, August, is all about finding one interesting artist or one book that you think fits in with the theme and seeking out an interesting performance. It's going to be happening in September. Just keeping an eye out for that. And then we're ready to go. Da da da. Looking forward to it, and I hope you are too, now that you've watched this video and you've watched the co-host videos as well. Bye for now.